Hello. What is law of attraction? Why is it such a big deal? How has law of attraction, this concept of law of attraction, become so popular? Uh, Not just since The Secret came out, I think it was 2008, but maybe even in the last 100 years or so, when this concept of attraction was kind of almost like marketed by different authors, different writers, different speakers. So, according to most writers, most authors, most speakers, how they define law of attraction is things like thoughts become things. What you think about, you bring about. All that we are is a result of our thoughts. What you focus on, you will attract. So the commonality of these different definitions is the word attraction. And apparently there is something like, if you have a certain thought, you are going to attract that into your life. And what I'm not entirely sure about, I'm not entirely convinced if there is such a thing called the law of attraction, anything at all. The way I look at it, this whole thing revolves around one thing, which is, call it a state of mind, call it a state of being. And thoughts don't become things. Your being becomes things. So what I'm trying to say is, you don't attract into your life what you're constantly thinking about and consciously focusing on. But it's all about the subconscious, what you're almost like unconsciously, it's almost like what you are unconsciously or even subconsciously. That's what you bring about. So you don't get what you want, you get what you are. You get what you are. And what are you? Alright, I may be saying you, but what I actually mean is us. You know, I'm on this journey of life as much as you are. I'm no different at all. So I just get these ideas, you know. When I woke up this morning, the first thing that occurred to me was about this concept of law of attraction. And here I am doing a video log. So how I'd like to define this thing called law of attraction is, or, you know, even though I wouldn't necessarily like to define it as the law of attraction, it is basically a state of being that we're in, a state of mind that we have. What I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. Let's say if you are in a state of mind of anxiety, or fear, or doubt. That's your state of mind. And what happens is, when you have that state of mind for a prolonged period, what happens is, you internally or subconsciously, you become the so-called doubting Thomas. You become an anxious person. You become a fearful person. Of anxiety or fear or doubt, everything that happens externally, so what I mean externally is what you can see, hear, smell, touch, and taste, is based on that internal feeling. So let's say if you are in a state of anxiety, that's the state of being, that's the state of mind you're in. So obviously everything and anything that happens while you're in that state is going to be construed as law of attraction. And you think, oh, because I've been anxious and fearful, I've attracted all these things into my life. No. At least that's the way I'd like to think. Because we are in a state of mind of anxiety and fear, and every circumstance that occurs, every situation that comes across, will come across to justify or to reinstate that state of mind that you're in. Okay? Because these external circumstances are nothing but metaphors. Are nothing but metaphors. What you are internally is depicted by the circumstances or the situation that you find yourself in. So, I would personally not like to think that I attract all these things into my life because of the way I think, the way I feel at that point in time. Not at all. It's because that's the way I am. That's the way I am. Of understanding that I've attracted all these things outside of me because of the way I think and the way I feel. But it is actually more than that. It's the way I am. I've attracted, or these things are present. It's just the way I look at these things. It's got nothing to do with attraction. It's just the way I perceive the circumstances and the situations and everything that happens to me externally. Internally is what I am. Honestly, truly, truth is what I am internally. When I talk about consciousness, I talk about what am I as a person. I am the combination of all these thoughts, the feelings, my attitude towards everything, my ability to take responsibility of my own life and everything. So what I am is almost like a bottom line. I am my beliefs. I am my paradigms. I am, as Leo from actualize.org was talking about recently, default position. Nothing but beliefs. An easier word. Let's say if you are in a state of happiness. Let's say you're in a very subconscious mode of happiness and tolerance and blissfulness and acceptance. How would you react if any circumstance or a situation that you probably think is not positive, how would you react to it? You would react to it with the same love, with the same acceptance, with the same happiness and joyfulness and blissfulness, because that's the state of being, or that's the state of mind you're in. So regardless of the situation, you have the ability to go beyond that actual circumstance or the situation. Again, that's only a metaphor. So let's say if something fantastic were to happen, again, fantastic is a very subjective term, something great were to happen, which you think, which, you know, people who believe in the law of attraction would think, okay, yeah, it's all because of the way I was thinking and feeling at that point in time, and that's what I've attracted. But it's way more than that. It's in how you are internally, how you are psychologically, how you are philosophically, how you truly are at the very core of your being. That is the state of mind that we want to be in. Authentic, true. And the more we can be in that space, the law of attraction does not matter at all, because you are in that state. Regardless of what happens, you will continue to be in that state. And if I were to look at the other extreme, let's say if you were in a state of anxiety and depression and grief and guilt and shame, if that's your core being, if that's the state of mind you're in, obviously you will look at every situation and every circumstance, which I call as metaphors. They're just metaphors. We just look at them and say, oh, this is because I've been thinking these negative thoughts. Not at all. It's just a state of mind that we're in. And that's what most authors and most writers have almost failed to make people understand. I mean, I'm finding it hard to articulate and express all this because that's all I have. You know, my brain is going at 100 miles an hour, but words, I've got only certain limited number of words that I can use to language those thoughts, I'm almost getting into take 3 of my video post that I did on words and language and speech, maybe a couple of months ago. But yeah, that's the one thing that I believe is the true meaning of life is about understanding everything. It's just being in a mode of curiosity, being in a mode of acceptance and inclusion. I keep saying acceptance and inclusion as if they're just words, but they mean so much. Acceptance, not just acceptance of every situation, acceptance of every person, acceptance of everything that happens to us. Inclusiveness and including them, not excluding them. These are good situations, I would like to include them into my life. These are bad situations, I wish to exclude them out of my life. No. It's about inclusion. It's about including everything. And the more we can include, the less we will separate. The more we include, the less we separate. Few months ago, I did a post on the different forms of wealth and success, and it was all about how the one aspect links to every aspect of our life. So the internal aspect is the internal self, is what determines how every aspect of our life pans out. So let's look at one of the forms of wealth and success, which is money. Now, if you look at money as if you internally and subconsciously feel or believe or think, and your attitude towards money is very closed, and if you are in a state of lack, that is not what you're going to attract into your life at all. You're already in that state of lack, so how is that going to change? Health is also an external aspect. Most of us would disagree, and I have experimented with health enough in the last 5 odd years, and I'm almost convinced, entirely convinced, that health is an external aspect of life. The only thing that is real life is life, is which we all call, maybe soul or spirit. This thing that is life, which is within each and every one of us. So how you think and feel and believe about health is what your physiological body is going to respond or react. Are subconsciously fearful of getting some kind of sickness, of getting some kind of a disease, or even if it is just basically something like a cold or a flu, we feel that is the result of something external. It could be the water that you drank, or the change of season, or something that you ate. Tend to blame it on something external, not knowing that that's the state of mind that we're in. Fear of getting sick. And that is what And what happens is, since we are in that kind of a state, we see that in our health, in our physiological health. So all these aspects that I was talking about in the different forms of wealth, which is, whether it's money and health, relationships, family, career, connectedness, all these different aspects, these are all fantastic measuring tools that gives us an understanding of our inner self, our internal self. So the best way to actually find out how you're feeling internally is by looking at every aspect of your external life, including health, including finance, your relationships, your family life. Now, when I talk about relationships, it's not the relationships that we have with friends and family members, not at all. I'm talking about the relationship with each and every individual that you know, and what kind of a relationship you have with them. Are you in a state of inclusion and acceptance and tolerance and friendliness with each and every one of them? And this includes strangers as well, people we don't know, or people that we meet at checkout counters at shopping malls, or people that we meet in public transport. Everyone. So it is how we are internally at the very core is what is presented to us externally. And where does it show? It shows in finance. It shows in health. It shows in family life. It shows in career. These are all these external aspects, just metaphors, as I was just saying. It's a fantastic gauge to let us know how we are doing in all these different aspects. So all these different forms of wealth and success that I've been bragging about is basically a reflection of your inner self. Is a reflection of the inner self. So coming back to law of attraction, there is no law called law of attraction that is in play. It is basically the state of mind we're in. It's our own state of being. If we are in a mode of constantly increasing our level of consciousness, I believe we are on the right track. And that's what it's all about. And consciousness is nothing but increasing knowledge, increasing awareness, being open to, being as open-minded as possible, being skeptical. So much so that you are even skeptical about your own skepticism. There's nothing that's a given. Everything is constantly evolving. So there are no bottom lines. We live in a solution-oriented world. So what are you saying? What's the bottom line? Is what everyone talks about. There is no bottom line. It's this whole journey is a journey. So once again, just summarizing, there is nothing called law of attraction. It's basically the state of mind we're in. It is our own state of being. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll see you